Now to this from the Washington Post reporting the Justice Department is now ramping up its wide-ranging criminal investigation into former President Trump, including his actions on January 6th in efforts to overturn the election of 2020. Jonathan Turley, a law professor at George Washington University and a Fox News contributor. Nice to see you, Jonathan. Good morning to you, Professor. Thanks for coming back here. Just as you're reading between the tea leaves here, prosecutors questioning witnesses before a grand jury. Could the former president face criminal charges?
Well, as a criminal defense attorney, I would tell any client that you cannot downplay a grand jury under any circumstance. This is not something that occurs every day. They wouldn't be bringing in people into the grand jury unless they believe they had cause to do so. What is really unclear is what case they're making. As you know, the January 6th committee promised at the start of the hearings that they would be presenting new evidence that demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that crimes were committed by former President Trump. They failed to make that case. In fact, they didn't really introduce a lot of new evidence in terms of the elements of various crimes that have been suggested. So the question is, does the Department of Justice have more information that we haven't seen thus far?
Yeah, great point there. But you asked the critical question, what case are they making? I would ask, what would be the charge?
Yeah, there's a couple of, originally they were talking about incitement to an insurrection. Many of us said that would be a rather difficult row to hoe because the Supreme Court precedent strongly militates against that. The president told his followers to go to Capitol Hill to protest peacefully. Now, while the committee keeps deleting that sentence when they present his speech at the ellipse, he did say it, and that would be in the trial. Now there's more talk about obstructing a proceeding or defrauding the government, but it comes again to his motivation. Trump is saying that he received legal advice from one of these two teams in the White House that said that he could do this, that history had shown that there have been multiple slates of electors. Democrats have challenged certification. Now, I disagreed with the advice he was being given, but that's a rather difficult case to make. And the question is, does Merrick Garland want to take that type of case into trial?
And we shall see. I'm just trying to read between the lines again. I guess the question, what I wanted to know was, what could the charges be? You mentioned the word obstruction. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yes. I mean, they talking more about obstructing a proceeding and also defrauding the government, largely focusing on those fake electors. And both of those issues will come down to whether the president was seeking people to protest to try to get votes for the certification denial, or whether he was actively trying to cause a riot or to stop these proceedings from occurring. There's a lot of interpretation that goes in there. Now, if there's evidence of a crime against former President Trump, I would be the first to say, charge him. I mean, I believe that Richard Nixon should have been charged. I believe Bill Clinton should have been charged. But Nixon and Clinton had very clear and rather conventional criminal charges that were raised against them, but they were never prosecuted for those charges. This is a very different situation. I mean, Merrick Garland would be taking a case that is unprecedented, not just against a president, but in terms of the underlying elements being used in this type of action.
Professor Turley, thank you. We'll see if anything comes of it.
Thank you.
Anything at all. Thank you, sir. Nice to see you today.